Welcome to the Varsity Blitz High School Sports Show presented by your local Pick and Save stores on the Big 920 in your iHeartRadio app. Coming live from the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Studios. I'm Mike McGivern alongside my co-host. He's back. He's a former head football coach at Oconomowoc, athletic director at Muskego, Ryan McMillan. Coach, it's good to see you. How you been?
It's great to see you too. I've been well. I can't complain.
Family's good?
Family's healthy. They're active. They're doing their thing. So
Is your dad doing well?
Yeah, he was officiating scrimmages. He was officiating last night. He was a team host for Waunakie's game on Thursday. So he's doing great.
Man, good for him. What game did he have last night? Do you know?
I don't know. I called him on the way in, but I couldn't get through to him. So
maybe he's napped. Maybe he's sleeping.
Yeah,
still.
he could be.
Yeah, maybe Aaron's out fishing. Something.
Yeah, he's doing something.
Hey, before we get to our special guest who's in studio for our first hour, Muskego last night, kind of similar to the game I was at, tale of two halves, huh?
Yeah, it was a classic week one football game. You really don't know what you're getting into, especially with a new opponent. We were all learning in the first half. Neenah was learning quicker than Muskego was in the first half, and then it kind of flipped the script in the second half, and Muskego found a way to come back. And it was youth night, so as you know in Muskego, that week one is a big deal, first home game, and so the faithful stuck around, and there was some energy in that place at the second half, so that helped.
Yeah, Franklin, Catholic Memorial at Franklin last night on my 24s, 24-14, Catholic Memorial at halftime, and got a couple guys were cramping up a little bit at Catholic Memorial side, and they've got some athletes that slippery. I'm telling you, hard to get down to the turf, and they made some adjustments on defense and kept them off the scoreboard and beat them. And it was a really good high school football game to be at. Big crowd, youth night too. They got a lot of kids playing youth football in Franklin. Yeah, holy cow! Yeah. Similar to Muskego.
It's our neighbor. We like those guys over there, and they like us.
I don't get sarcasm all the time. I'm not. You might like them. I don't know about the other way. Yeah, I think a lot of respect.
Absolutely.
That's for sure. 110%. As we talk about the perfect tie-in with youth night, right? Muskego, Franklin, some of these schools, their programs are some of the best programs in the state of Wisconsin because of the youth program. And we have a new partner, a new sponsor on this show. And I wanted to bring them in and talk a little bit about their league. And I don't know if there's a better youth league in the state. The AAYFL, the All-American Youth Football League, Wisconsin All-American Youth Football League, is a league that continues to grow, and they do a really good job. You guys are a part of that.
Yeah, we've been a part of it for a long time, and we always try to help the league as much as we can with hosting more youth nights when we get the playoffs and things like that, the extra special type things. Muskego's been a good partner.
Well, I can tell you, the first time I ever met you, and we talked on the phone, but when you came in studio at the other station, and we did the first segment, and during the break, and I don't know if you'll remember this, but during the break, and you were the head coach at Oconomowoc, I said, how's the youth program? And you said, I need to tweak it a little bit. And I said, really? And you said, look, where I come from, Waunakee, the youth program is key. It's key, and it feeds into what is this really good football program at the high school level. And without the youth program and without it running correctly, he said, I just need to tweak it a little bit here at Oconomowoc, but I'll get it there. But you understand the importance of it, and not so much about winning football games, but just getting kids involved and getting them a chance to play at an early age, hoping that they will stay with it and then play it at the high school level.
Yeah, there's no football program across the state that's winning without a thriving youth organization feeding them, in my opinion. We've been very fortunate in our community to have stability in our leadership in the youth organization and a great working relationship, starting with Coach Benny and Coach Krause, and then morphed into Coach Roper and Coach Stark leading the way for us. And now those guys are starting to pass the torch to the next generation of fourth graders that are coming in and new leadership. And so, but there's some synergy there, and we want to keep going what we got going and continue to build relationships with the new leaders and keep feeding the AAYFL and make it the best league we possibly can and develop kids and and feed right into high school football.
So in studio with this is Greg Clark, and he's the commissioner of this league, and he reached out to me a couple months ago, and he said, "Look, give me a call. I got a question for you." So I called him back. He said, "How do we tie in together?" And I go, "I don't. Wait, what?" And he goes, "Like, how do we tie in? We really like what you do for high school and youth sports, and we think we're the best league in the state. And so how do we put this together a little bit?" And so for the first time, they're sponsoring this show, and we've come up with a way, I think, to be able to highlight, promote, and celebrate what they do in this league. And Greg Clark is joining us for the first hour today. Greg, how you been?
I've been fantastic. It's great to be in studio. Thanks.
Well, and you're in a studio with friends, because this is we talked again yesterday, and you said, "Hey, look, I'm a little nervous. What questions are you going to ask?" I said, "Greg, we're talking about something that we both really believe in, and we believe that what you do, and I have grandkids playing for the Brookfield East Youth football program. My son-in-law runs that program, and there's so many lessons to be learned through youth football and youth sports, and I think football more than any, because there so many pieces that go into what you guys do." Thanks a lot for getting involved in this show and being a sponsor.
Yeah, I've been a fan of yours for years, and I love what you guys do for the high school sports and highlighting everybody around the state. And yeah, I think it's great, and so we wanted to be a part of it. And
you're going to allow me, and what's really going to be cool with this, Ryan, is we're going to run commercials when their league starts, and we'll run them on Saturday, saying, "Look, if you're looking to go out to a game, you go out and support these kids in your neighborhood school, at where you went to high school, and we'll highlight 4 or 5 different matchups on Saturday, and then tell people what website to go to, and then during the week, we're going to name a team of the week." And we're going to figure out the formulation on how we're going to do that. But I'll go out to a practice and hand out a plaque and talk to the team, get pictures with this plaque, their coach and their team. And I'll head out of my house, my little condo in Pewaukee, one night a week. And whether it's to Slinger or it's to wherever it is, could be Muskego, who knows? Well, we'll see about that. There's ways we can get that done. Yeah. But then I'll go out and meet these kids and tell the coaches, well done. And Greg, thank you for doing that. How long have you been involved with the AAYFL?
We've been involved. Waukesha North has been involved with the AAYFL for 7 years now, and then I've been commissioner for 3 years now.
Man, so talk about that. I mean, that's a part-time job that you're not getting paid $1 zillion to do, and takes a lot of time, right?
Yeah, it takes a lot of time, and I don't have a kid in youth football anymore, but the board of directors that we have and the support, it's fantastic. So they convinced me to run for the position, and I got it, and then I was reelected last year. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of refining processes and kind of getting things to get us to the next level.
Well, Greg, literally every time we've talked, you say, "Look, I'm the commissioner, but I got to talk about Dan Snell. I got to talk about this guy and this gal and these people that are doing a lot of work. I might be the face and the voice on your show the first week, but man, there's so many other people that do a lot of work with this thing, and we're not even talking about the coaches and the parent volunteers, and we'll get into that later in the show. But there's so many people on that executive board that you want to thank and say, "Look, this isn't me, this is us, and we do this as a team," and you're really impressed with the sweat equity that these people put into this league.
Yeah, I totally agree. We are a transparent board. We try to meet. Every decision goes through the board. I try not to take it all on myself, but Dan Snell, especially our executive administrator, he puts in a ton of time, ton of hours, and then Matt Snell, who's our secretary website guy, he takes care of all that stuff. And
Matt's in studio with us.
He's he'll have us on video.
I already yelled at him once, didn't I? But then he explained it, and then boom, I closed my mouth very quickly when he explained it. Is Matt and Dan, are they brothers or?
No, that's Dan is Matt's dad, and then we have another Snell on the board, Mason Snell, And so the youth is stepping up a little bit. And I mean youth as in the younger middle-aged guys are kind of getting involved in the board, which we need. We want guys to step up. I've been talking to my son also about, hey, let's get involved in the AAYFL because it's that some of the new blood, and it's great to have experience.
Next generation, absolutely.
Yeah.
You guys open up your first week is when?
September 7th is our first game.
Ooh, coming up quick.
Yes, yeah.
Coming up quick. I know that I have a grandson in 8th grade over at Brookfield East, and another one in 5th. And this is the first year for the 5th grader, and I was a little nervous for him. And he's like, no, I love it.
Yeah.
It's going well. And I said, good for you. I'm glad that there are some games that age group is a little bit later in the day, so I'm going to be able to get over to some of his games. It looks like the 8th grade normally play early, and I won't be able to get to too many of Logan's games, but, I've seen him play. And it's been fun. My wife goes to as many games. Obviously, my daughter and son-in-law go to all of the games that they can. And it's really fun to be in that environment and watch these kids from 5th grade on, trying to figure this thing out. And at 5th grade, they play a little scared yet, right? You're a little bit nervous about the contact. And all of a sudden, when I start watching them in 7th and 8th grade, it's all kind of kicked in. How are the numbers as far as kids playing nowadays?
So it depends on the program. Some programs are thriving, like Muskego, Mugwanago. They have much bigger programs. And then we have teams that struggle to field teams. But what we've been able to do is we fit them into divisions. So we have 3 divisions based on program size. So we put the competitive balance and put them together so they're playing programs their same size.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. So, like in 8th grade, you've got is this in all of the grades where it's Division 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah, so Division 1, 2, and 3 is in 8th grade, and then for 7th, 6th, and 5th, we kind of mix it up because different programs have different amount of teams. Like Muskego's got 2 at 7th, 6th, 5th grade, and then one school might only have 1 at a certain level, so we try to match them up and. So 7th, 6th, and 5th are kind of mixed up.
Will the Muskego teams play against each other?
There's a possibility if it gets to the playoffs. We try to separate their divisions so they don't play each other during the season, but in the playoffs, they could possibly play each other.
Then Ryan, and I don't know as the athletic director of the high school if you dig deep into this, but how are the teams? Are they matched up where it's an A team and a B, or is it trying to split?
Usually it's pretty much a split as far as everything I've understood. But we really leave that to the leadership and our varsity football coaches when we work together in the spring and really set the course. But like I said, Coach Roper and Coach Stark have done a great job of overseeing all of that and ensuring that every kid gets an opportunity to play. But they'll also try to balance the teams out to make sure, we're not going to take 3 quarterbacks on one team and then leave the other team with no QB.
Right.
And then they're going to really, really struggle. We want everyone to be successful because if you experience some level of success, chances are we're going to retain you, and that's the name of the game. How many kids can we retain to get to high school, and how many kids in high school can we retain to get to the senior year?
Do you remember playing at that age?
Yeah, oh yeah.
In Wanakee,
yeah.
Right? And one of the things that seems to be, at least people are talking more about, is 5th grade the right age to let kids full contact? Is it 6th grade? Is it freshman?
First grade?
First grade, right? I mean, that's and there are 2 different mindsets to this.
Yeah.
There are some people that think, look, we'll play contact but not tackle until kids get to freshmen, and I don't know if that's the right key to keeping kids involved, because kids, if they get afraid and they get hit and they get hurt, a lot of them are done. My oldest grandson, he's running cross country at Lake Country Lutheran, and he played football in 5th and 6th, I think, and maybe 7th. And I said, why don't you want to play football? And he said, look, I don't like hitting people. I don't like getting hit. I go, don't play football. The grandson who's younger goes, I don't want to play basketball. They keep calling me for fouls. I want to play football lacrosse because they get to hit people. I go, that's your sport, right? That's what you should play. When you said first grade and you were kind of laughing about it, but if you had to start this thing, at what age would you put full contact? Let's go.
Ooh, great question. I would work with the community and the families in terms of what is their needs, I guess,
Okay.
and what are they looking for. I think it's an individual decision on all levels. Really, you do your homework, you do your research, you do what you're comfortable with. There's a school of thought of letting the body develop and the brain develop before you enter into this, like the old days where kids couldn't play until high school, right?
Right.
Um,
Talking about my era.
yeah, and then
Thanks
there's
for bringing up the old days.
the good old days.
Yeah,
Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, back then it was Nutcracker and it was Bull in the Ring
Yep.
and it was salt pills. You can't drink water. I mean, that's crazy now. Nobody thinks that. Tom Swiddle, the head coach at Tosa East, and I started the WFCA show during the summer years ago because he came over to the radio station and he said, look, I believe, he goes, and I truly believe this, that it's never been safer. Football is a contact sport. It is. It's a contact sport, but it's never been safer than it is today for kids to play football.
And going back to that, on the converse of what I just said, is there's a school of thought out there that believes we can teach it better, and the sooner we start teaching it, the safer it's going to be down the road for kids, and that's where you start to introduce some of those introductory contact pieces, and the wrestling community does this. They get kids really young, and they learn the spatial awareness, if you will, and how to control the body and how to enter into those things safer. Injuries happen in any sport that you play, and so it just kind of depends where you're at and who are the people leading the charge and what will that experience be. At the end of the day, it's all about people. I mean, you can start early, you can start late, but if you got the right people leading it and the kids are feeling valued and they're locked into this thing, having fun, they're going to keep going.
Hey, Greg, as the commissioner of the All-American Youth Football League, it's AAYFL is how people know it. Do you guys as a board talk about and dictate what practices need to be, how much hitting can be, or do you leave that to the schools?
We do. We have a very extensive program that we go through. We follow USA Football, which does a great job of helping train our coaches. Every coach has to be certified before they can step on the field, and they go through. We follow WIA, so we have to have 10 hours of conditioning before they can put equipment on and before they can start hitting. And so that's a great way, and all our programs follow that. So yes, I agree that it is safe now. And if you're teaching them the right way, then now there's going to be injuries, just like any sport.
Right.
Yes. When we teach them at a younger age how to do it, they already have a step up of how to handle themselves.
Years ago, and I don't know if they're still doing this, and I should, but Brian Summer, the coach at University School, and James Becker, who was out there, and he's now at Marquette, had a program called On the Dot. And on your practice jerseys, they would put a bullseye on the shoulder pads and your hip pads, and so kind of like rugby, right? Your shoulders got to hit there, and that's how they were teaching kids how to keep your head out of the game, how to tackle correctly. And again, there's so much of that now where the equipment is much better than it's ever been, but you guys hit less than they used to, as you said, back in the old days.
Good old days.
Good old days. Yeah. That's what they are. Yeah, I don't remember my name half the time, so that's maybe the good old days weren't so good. But I think that it's so important. My daughter's still nervous about her sons playing football. There's no doubt. When Tom Swiddle came in, he said, "Look, my son's played quarterback for years. He's not had a concussion. My daughter plays volleyball. She can no longer, she might have to stop playing volleyball because she's had a number of concussions. Soccer players, I think hers was in soccer, by the way. But that, nobody talks about that. We never had a president say, if I had a son, I wouldn't let him play soccer. Well, we had a president that said, if I had a son, I'd never let him play football. And people were like, wait, what? And so I think it's important. And look, we've gotten smarter. People that are running leagues, athletic directors, coaches, everybody's gotten a little bit smarter and on how we practice. We can get kids prepared, ready to play football without doing all that hitting that we did back in the good old days.
Totally.
Yeah, you did some of it though, right?
Oh yeah.
Pat Rice didn't mind doing that stuff.
That's contact's part of the game. It's a violent game at times, and you better be ready to go.
Hey, by the way, thank you. A couple weeks ago, we had Pat Rice on. And I see that they won on Thursday. Thursday had to be a very difficult evening for him. Were you up there?
I was not up there. I ended up texting him yesterday. I didn't know if he needed to get away, so I told him there's a sideline pass for him at Muskego if he wants to come down. But
there was a death in the Wanakee football family.
Yeah.
And he was retiring. They were doing a thing for him, and he said, "I can't wait till all this is over."
Yeah.
I don't. It's going to be very difficult. He was so kind with his time. We've had him on before during playoffs, and he's very short. He just wants to get off the phone. We could have had him on for an hour, and I thanked him so much. And I said, "Can I get back with you middle of the season?" He said, "You call me anytime. I got a lot of time on my hands now." And he did great.
Awesome.
We're going to get to a break. On the other side of the break, by the way, second hour, we're going to start the second hour, and we're going to talk to Dominic Walters, who's a safety at Franklin, the game that Andrew, my producer, and I were at last night. We're going to talk to him. And then the second and third segment of hour two, Coach McMillan and Ryan, we're going to talk about some of the games that got played last night, and then talk about games coming up this Friday. And there's some really good matchups, and we'll have a conversation about that in the second hour. First hour, Greg Clark. He is the lead commissioner for the AAYFL, a new sponsor of this show. We're going to continue our conversation with him. This is the Varsity Blitz High School Sports Show, presented, as always, by your local Pick and Save stores on the Big 920 and your iHeart Radio app. Welcome back to the Varsity Blitz High School Sports Show, presented, as always, by our local Pick and Save stores. Starting right early September, we're going to start to name our Pick and Save Student Athlete of the Week again, and looking forward to getting back to that. Coming live from the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Studios, I'm Mike McGivern alongside my co-host. He's back, and I'm so thankful to have him in studio whenever I can get him. He's the athletic director at Muskego, Ryan McMillan. Our special guest in studio is Greg Clark. He's the lead commissioner for the AAYFL, and a new sponsor of this show. And we're going to start running commercials, and we're going to highlight some teams and some matchups that people can go to. And I would highly recommend, if you haven't been to a youth football game, if you haven't been to one in a while, if you no longer have kids, get back out and support these kids. Support these coaches, these communities and schools. Greg, I got to tell you my favorite. Look, you build memories. That's what you're doing with this league and these teams and these kids. It was during the COVID time, and my grandson Keegan was in 5th grade playing at Brookfield East. They had a game in Mugwanago that I got a chance to go to. I left the show and then went out there. And when I got there, the guy taking the tickets said, "McGivern, what are you doing here?" I said, "My grandson plays. Do you mind if I just," because I don't want to go sit in the stands, because I don't want to sit by crazy parents. I just don't. I go, do you mind? I thought, wait till you hear this. I go, "Do you mind if I just sit in the bleachers there in the end zone?" He goes, "No, sit wherever you want." Well, both teams run a lot, and my grandson was a wide receiver and a safety. So there wasn't a whole lot. There's a good game, but it was like 6-0, fourth quarter, near the end of the game, and Brookfield East hadn't practiced punting much. And it was 4th and 10 from their own 15-yard line. And they're up 6-0. And I'm thinking, well, you should punt. And they didn't. And they threw a pass, and my grandson caught it. And he's racing down, and I start running down the sidelines because I'm so excited for the kid. And they caught him, which I was surprised. He's a pretty fast kid. Tackled him at the 10-yard line. Well, this is going to end the game now. They're going to be able to win the game. And Keegan comes walking off the sidelines, got a big smile on his face. And I grab him. Now I'm on the bench, and I grab him over, and I go, "Look, other than marrying the prettiest girl I'd ever seen and having my 2 kids, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen." And he goes, "What pretty girl did you marry?" And I go, "Oh, your Nana going to get you on that." Yeah, I'm telling you, your Nana. I called my wife and told her. We laughed, and she drove right to his house and waited for him to come home and said, "I'm the pretty girl that he married." And this little boy, but that memory of pure joy for this kid and the smile he had on his face. And then I said, "I'm a little surprised they caught you." He said, "That won't happen again." The next week they were at Slinger, and he caught one. And I've got the video on my phone. He caught it, and 4 kids from Slinger are chasing him, and he took it to the house. He didn't know what to do. First touchdown he ever had. So he just handed the ref the ball, and another kid from Brook East came to kind of do a chest bump, and he was like, "What are you doing? I don't know what to do here." And it was for him, it was just so much fun. And for us to be able to watch it, when I say you guys are building memories for these kids, they're going to be talking about stuff that happened in their youth football game you know, guys that can stand up in their wedding from people on this team. And I hope that you understand, Greg, the work that you put into this league is more than just making sure the games start on time, making sure that the teams have enough kids. And I hope that you understand that man, this is really good stuff that you guys are doing.
Yeah, I agree. Some of the best memories I have is from youth sports, and I played in the old Racine County Youth Sports Association back in the day, and we had so many kids that we played within our own community, and those are the games we remember. And that was awesome. And that's what I want to help produce. And even my kids, I have 3 kids, 2 boys that play, and one's a junior at Waukesha North right now. And, you know, those are the memories. They still talk about it. And yeah, I 100% agree.
When coaching AAU basketball, my son's age, and now he's, I don't know, he's married with 2 kids. He's a grown man, right? Maybe 30. When I see guys from that team, we won a lot of stuff, right? We didn't lose until we got to Disney World in 4th grade. So we won everything in 3rd, everything in 4th. And they never talk about any of that. They talk about, do you remember when we threw Matthew in the pool when we were in Grand Rapids and you got really mad at us? Hey, do you remember when we were in Minneapolis and you had ordered pizzas and you thought somebody took, it was us, we took them. And so that's the stuff they talk about. They don't talk about beating, you know, this team or losing to that team, or all the trophies they had. My son doesn't even know where any of them are, but all those memories, and I hope that you understand. Hey, Greg, what is the perfect number as far as participants? Like, what are you looking for, and what number do you say to a team, maybe you should have 2 teams?
Well, our threshold is right in mid-30s. Mid to upper 30s is because we want kids to play. If you start having, some teams are in the 40s or 50s even, you know, you really should try to get down to 2 teams so kids can play. That's the ultimate goal, is to get as many kids playing, because what Ryan had mentioned, we are feeding the high school. That's our ultimate goal, is feeding the high school to get these kids to prepared to play at the high school level. And so if you have 40 kids don't get to play and they sit on the bench or whatever. So
do you, when you talk to the coaches, do you make that point? Look, I know, because I coached at the grade school level. You want to win. You want to win, but it can't be the most important thing. And it's hard to tell coaches that, especially young coaches who think they're playing in the Super Bowl when it's week 3 and they're playing against Muskego. You know, that's our Super Bowl. It's hard to get young coaches to understand that that's not what we're doing here.
Yeah, and I was one of those coaches. It's intense. You know, you wanna win. You want it for the kids, but you want the participation. You want them to have those memories and to play, and put them in different positions as well, not just playing the same. Now, because of the youth league we have weight restrictions, so kids can only play if you're a little on the heavier side, but you're really good running back. You can't be running up against a smaller kid, so you have to play on the line.
Right.
So we have those restrictions for the safety but to move kids around as well.
Greg, I gotta tell you,
is it the old Blue Star? Do you do that nowadays?
I don't know, the Blue Star.
I was a Blue Star kid, Mike, back in the day. So I was the running back kid that had to put his hand on the ground and learn how to block, which gave you great appreciation as time went on.
What does that mean?
So when you're over, he talked about that weight requirement.
Yes.
When you're over that weight requirement, you had to get a Blue Star on your helmet. And anybody with the Blue
right,
Star
yeah.
designated that you were over the weight requirement, so that if a coach tried to win the game and take the bigger, stronger, faster kid, whatever it might be, and just feed him the ball and bulldoze over everybody, they couldn't do it. So the referees knew what was going on. So it helped police the structure of the league a little bit.
Yeah, we don't necessarily do that, but we do have the weight restrictions. Everyone has to get registered within 5 pounds of the weight. They have to be certified, and then they pretty much are in numbers 50 to 79 lineman numbers. So then they're ineligible anywhere else or whatever.
Smart.
But I thought you were going to say blue chip player. So I wasn't sure you said blue
You
star.
were a blue chip?
I was not a Blue
You
chip.
were
I was a Blue Star.
A Blue Star. I would change that and say I was a blue chip if I were you. It sounds.
I wouldn't be here if I was a Blue Star.
You would. So I'm glad you were a blue star,
That's right.
not a blue chip.
That's right.
I can tell you that. When I was a young basketball coach, I was trying to be Bobby Knight, right? And I was an idiot. I'm just going to be honest with you. And I had a parent back then. Imagine the big camera you needed to videotape. And after a game, she gave me a VHS tape and she said, "Here, I taped this for you." And I said, "Oh, thanks." She goes, "I didn't do it for why you think, and please don't be mad at me." And she walked away. I thought, what was that? She videotaped me on the sidelines, and I was so embarrassed. And I hugged her. I was 17 years old. I hugged her and I said, "Thank you. You've changed me. Like, I'm not going to be," I was a crazy person. And I often think guys that run leagues, if there's a coach who is like that, go out and videotape him and say, "Look, just so you know, this is what you look like on the sidelines. This is what you sound like," because it did. Now referees will say, "Well, what were you like then?" Because I know what you were like here. You didn't change all that much. And I said, I did because I didn't know. You don't know what you sound like. You don't know what you look like. And I often think if we did some of that for some of the younger coaches so they can see what other people are seeing, you might want to think about that.
Yeah, it's interesting point because my check is my wife. So I'd always come off the sidelines or a little bit after and say, "How did I do? Did I do anything bad?" And she'd give me the rundown. And
what is her name?
My wife's name is Kayla, and she's my check and balance. So when I would coach, she'd be like, "Hey, you kind of were a little over the top." And
hey, next week we'll have Kayla come in. Yeah, well, Kayla, you come in and tell stories about what Craig was like. What do you do during on a Saturday now? Do you travel?
Yes, yeah. So between Dan and I, and maybe some of the other board of directors, we travel to the other games, and I will tell you, that is probably the most fulfilling. So I'm in Waukesha, so I'm pretty centralized. So I can hit Muskego, I can go up to Slinger, I can get out to Germantown, and there's a lot of good football games out there. There's a lot of really good young talent and good young coaches, and the programs we have, everybody's invested. We have over 30 programs, and I know all the guys that run them, and men and women, and they are invested, and they're very organized, and they want to do the best for the kids and for their high schools.
Hey Ryan, Greg had talked about playing in Racine, and it was a community league. Yeah, that was what it was like for you in Wanakee, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So you had enough kids to form a league where you played against other kids from Wanakee.
It wasn't, well, we always had to play against the other team because there just wasn't as many teams, but Wanakee was too small. It wasn't Racine, right?
Okay.
It was a small farming community, but all of the places right next door, Sauk Prairie, DeForest, and maybe Middleton at the time. I feel like we played Sauk Prairie 6 of the 8 games.
Really?
Yeah. So it was one of those deals where it felt more like a rec program than it was, more of a traveling deal.
The teammates you had in 5th grade, was it the same team in 6th, or would it change then? As far as the 2 teams or however many teams you had in Wanakee?
Yeah, they redrafted it, if I remember, at the end of each year as you kept going through and kids change and grow and all that stuff. And so
same with AAYFL. Do the kids stay on the same team, or do they change it?
They pretty much stay in the same. They're in the same team. So you play for Waukesha North, you follow up and play unless you change schools or whatever. But yes, all teams pretty much filter into the high school.
How hard is it to get coaches?
Well, if you're Muskego, I think they have, every parent wants to be a coach there. And then, it depends. Some schools like, West Dallas, Waukesha North, Waukesha South, we struggle at times to get coaches, but, the guys that step forward do a phenomenal job. And sometimes they're doing the work of 2 or 3 different coaches at the same time.
New teams this year?
Yes. So we have Oconomowoc and Menominee Falls joined our league this
Excellent.
year. So, and then last year Kettle Moraine joined. So, yeah, we're gaining momentum, and it's great.
Who does the schedules for you?
That's me.
Oh man, Don't ask me to help. Do not ask me to help. Do you have then different conferences? Is that how that works?
Yes. So each division has a different conferences, and then we invested in a scheduling program 2 years ago that helped with that, and makes it a lot easier. So this year, say it took me, 2.5 months last year, now I'm down to a month and a half. So
that's awesome. Yeah, what do you do with all your free time? What do you do for a living?
I own a restaurant consulting business. It's called Sculpture Hospitality. So I do bar and restaurant inventory. So I ultimately go in, do their inventory, match it up to their sales, and let them know how much more money they should be making.
So like that
So-
TV show.
Yes, yep.
Yeah.
Our company was actually on Bar Rescue.
Really?
And, yeah, so we've
It's
gotten a lot
amazing
of
what he
traction.
can do in an hour show.
Yeah.
He completely redoes
Yes.
people's. Yeah, he does. He's not the nicest guy.
Yeah, so people ask, like, the difference between me and him is I don't throw bottles around.
Yeah,
So
okay.
yelling and screaming at people.
Yeah, fire people, tell, hey, your wife's not helping the business, get out, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Thank goodness. You don't seem like the kind of guy that would do that. He is Greg Clark. He's the commissioner of the AAYFL, and we're talking youth football for the first hour. Second hour, we're going to start with Dominic Waters. He is a safety, a junior safety at Franklin. Saw him play last night. Want to talk to him a little bit about Sabre football. And then the last two segments, Ryan McMillan and Andrew and I are going to talk a little bit about some of the games that were played last night. Talk about next week and some of the key matchups. And we will do that throughout the show. This is the Varsity Blitz High School Sports Show presented by your local pick and save stores on the Big 920 and your iHeart Radio app. Green Bay Packers, their final preseason game is today against the Ravens. 11 o'clock, tune in 97.3. Game for the Packer preview kickoff with Wayne Larrabee. Larry McGivern is at noon. Following the game, stay tuned for the Packers OT with Drew Olson and Billy Schmidt. These two will break down who will be and who will be on, who will not make the roster. Andrew, I'm going to rewrite this myself. Grab the microphone. Andrew's really tired. It's a 7-page promo here, and he had them playing Seattle. It's the Ravens,
it's the other
right?
bird team, right?
Yeah, it's the other bird.
It's on one of the coasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah,
if you're
needs
going to
more
hang out
sleep.
with me on the sidelines on Friday night, you got to get more sleep. Get a better nap in, by the way.
Deal.
Yeah, it was good. In studio with us, this is the Varsity Blitz, by the way, high school sports show presented by your local pick and save stores. Live from the Donovan and Jorgensen Heating and Cooling Studio. My co-host, he is Ryan McMillan, former head football coach at Oconomowoc. It's been years. Do I need to still say that?
No.
But you know what? You're proud of the job you did out there. You did a great job out there.
Yeah, I mean, proud of the kids in the community and the
You had a good
folks that
staff.
support it. I love the staff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to
Good
keep saying
people.
it. That's how I
That's
met
fine.
you. So I'm going to keep saying
All
it. Former head football coach at Oconomowoc, a blue chipper. No, I'm sorry, blue star from Wadakee.
That's
Blue
right.
chip, blue star, big difference. He is Ryan McMillan, the athletic director at Muskego. How's the new indoor facility's nice, huh?
It's phenomenal. Yeah, we're blessed.
Yeah.
So we're in a good place.
Is he getting used a lot?
Yes and no. There's still so we have occupancy. There's still some punch list stuff going on. Our programs at MHS are using it. We've had a few youth camps in there of our own feeders that throughout the summer, but it's not where it's going to be in a year. In a year, it's going to be like clockwork, I believe, with everybody coming in and going out. Marching bands in there running their camp. That was the biggest blessing last night that no one knows is marching band was able to stay in the indoor, do their whole pregame show, while our freshman football team got to have the turf out on the field and do their regular practice. And so it just alleviated that stress that's usually there on Friday on, cycling through a practice, getting the next group on and going, and now we kind of got a little bit extra space, so that was kind of nice.
It feels like a little college atmosphere. Huh?
Yeah.
Is that
It's
indoor
growing.
facility? And now I heard this is a rumor. It's called the Ryan McMillan Indoor
No.
Facility.
No.
No, it's not.
Actually.
That rumor, and it's hot and heavy out there. The Ryan McMillan Indoor Facility.
Muskego Fieldhouse, baby.
Right, hey, sponsored by your local
Yes.
pick and save and
That's right.
Wendy's.
There you
And
go.
don't forget them.
Wendy's is there.
Our special guest, and this has been great for me, Greg Clark. He's the lead commissioner of the AAYFL. Again, they are a new sponsor to this show, and I thank them for that. And I think that, we can never tell my son-in-law that you talk to him first, because then he's going to be going, look, maybe I should be getting some commission on this thing. Not going to happen, John Bonner. But I thank you for reaching out to me, and I think this is, first year that we do this, we'll muddle through it a little bit, but I think we've got something here. I really do, and we're going to have you guys in mid-season, near the end of the season, and then at the end, championship coaches I'm going to have in studio to congratulate and talk about their teams. Hey, putting this league together and what you're doing, you guys can't do it without the volunteers at the different youth programs. And when we had Franklin in a zillion years ago, I asked her, what keeps you up at night? And she said, look, volunteers. It's like church. 90% of the work gets done by 10% of the people, and I need 20% of the people to get involved, and that would just really help us. You see that as well with some of the programs and some of the teams.
Yes, yeah, and we couldn't put these games on without it, and it is really important to have volunteers. And some people say, well, at Muskego they have all these people, and McGuanago and some of the other, they have greater numbers, but it's just as hard as the programs that are having 2 games, or 1 game at their facility, because to get people to come out and to do this, doing the schedule this season, we actually created what I call Super Saturdays, where some of the bigger programs like Muskego Slinger, they're putting on 7-8 games that entire day. They start at 8 o'clock in the morning and they go all day, and they need a ton of volunteers to do that. And they've been gracious enough to say, hey, we can do this. And it celebrates the teams, but then just like the teams that only have 2 games, it's just as much.
Right.
But yeah, it's really hard. And you're right, the 80-20 rule or 90-10 rule, it's true, because you see the same people doing the same things to try to, okay, how can we expand this? And unfortunately, it is a struggle.
It is, and I think, back then Franklin said they had a $50 buyout. I said, make it $300. People will pay the $50 if I don't have to spend. They're asking for 2 hours, like total, like, and you're not in the concession stand when your kid's playing, but when other kids are playing, so that their parents can go watch them play, or their grandparents can go watch them play. I think that's tough. Let me give the website real quick. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask people in communities that haven't been to youth football games in a while to go out and support these kids. And so we're going to run commercials during my home improvement show and during Faith in the Zone show and during the high school show that's going to say, look, today, Brookfield East playing at Brook Central, Muskego's playing at Kettle Moraine. We're going to start naming games that we're going to ask you on a Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon to go out and support these kids and cheer on either your alma mater or cheer on the school that you went to or cheer on the community school, because these kids are working really, really hard and they would love to be able to play in front of a lot of people. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked that woman from Franklin. What keeps you up at night with running this league?
Mainly the schedule is because it can fluctuate, and based on officials, because that's the biggest challenge right now is officials. Now we have a good group, but things come up, and so making changes to the schedule is probably the biggest thing. And I tried to alleviate that this year, having more experience and with the program that we have, and so yeah, that's probably the biggest thing right now. And then once the game starts, it's almost like we're all married. Most of us are married. It's once the wedding happens, there's nothing you can do. It's once Saturday comes and 9 o'clock hits, there's nothing more I can do. So
my producer would like to be married. I told him he's got to find a date first, and I'm hoping that happens soon.
Oh, that's how it happens.
You got a date first. I think there's a show on TV. My 90-day fiance or something. I'm trying to get him on that show. We'll see how that goes. Greg Clark, thank you. I appreciate the partnership. Ryan and Ryan and I do a really nice job of highlighting, promoting, celebrating football. And to have you guys involved in this and giving me the opportunity to go out and meet some of these kids and coaches, I thank you for that.
Yes, and we thank you as well to allow us to be partners with you. This is great. I've always been an admirer, so.
Well, I appreciate that a lot. You tell Kayla, keep up the good work, keeping you in line, pal. We're going to get to a break. Other side. In fact, hold on. It's AAYFL.org. AAYFL.org. If you go on that website and you can take a look at the schedules that are coming up early September. These kids play on Saturdays. And get out again and support this league and these kids and these programs. AAYFL.org. We're going to get to a break. Other side of the break, Dominic Walters. He's a safety at Franklin. Saw him play last night. Asked him to come on for a few minutes. He's a junior in high school. He said, I can do this via phone, but I'm an usher or I'm standing up in a wedding, something like that. So we'll ask him. He's got a wedding to go to today. Not his wedding. A little bit young for that.
Not mine either.
Again, and not Andrew's, because we got to get that boy a date. This is the Varsity Blitz High School Sports Show presented by your local pick and save stores on the Big 920 and your iHeartRadio app.